We are back with another exciting episode of American Pylon. Your host here, Will Mehall, joined by the usual counterparts, James Thomas Fanning IV and Tyler Combs, David Grayson behind the tech, making all of this possible. We've got another good episode going to be previewing the Georgia versus Notre Dame game. I know we're coming out a little bit in front. We actually have another opponent prior to that, but let's be honest, that's the game we're all looking forward to. We'll probably talk a little bit about this past game, and we're also going to kick things off with our weekend because Jimmy, as I mentioned, had an excursion down in Columbia, and I never get to do stuff that cool. So, Jimmy, how was it?
It was really fun. We were down there for a full week. Went down with the girlfriend, enjoyed listening to y'all. Podcast without me, it was kind of fun to be on the Brent's normal side of it. Listening to it cold and not knowing what you guys were gonna say. Thought you guys sounded good, had some good stuff to say, but it was really fun. We did a lot of stuff. The coolest thing we probably did was we went to a national park. There was a jungle. It was 4 miles through the jungle to get to a beach. And we rode horses in, and then we hiked out.
Was it like a guided horse ride?
Yeah. They didn't just let me loose with a wild horse. I was like a 5-year-old up there. Like I had no idea what I was doing.
Hill.
Yeah, it was pretty scary. It was funny because you can go and look on Facebook because when I got up on the horse, I was like, oh my God, I'm so high. This horse is like a giant Clydesdale. And then you see the pictures, and it's like basically a pony. And my feet were like a foot and a half in the ground.
Dragging.
But it felt so high when I was up there.
Could have been a pinata.
Yeah, but it was really fun. We got to snorkel. They have a coral reef off the coast of Colombia, which I didn't know until I got there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that was pretty fun. But we're not with her family. Did not meet her grandma.
Oh, what a wasted
her parents
opportunity.
live in Tennessee. But other than that, we were in Colombia, so it was fun.
Nice.
It was a really good time. So we did get to watch. We also found a bar in Cartagena that pulled up a bootleg stream of the Vanderbilt game.
That's
just
great.
Really?
Yep.
Commit to the G.
Just me and her. She speaks Spanish. I do not. So she just pulled him over and said, "Can you guys pull this up?" It helped that it was on ESPN. That was close that it got moved. Mm-hmm. And they pulled up a stream of it and got to watch like the second, third, and fourth quarter, which was pretty fun.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I want to go to Colombia.
It looked beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
I told Natalie when we go, she wants to go to Peru, and I was like, yeah, we can definitely do that, but I don't want to just stop there. Like, I want to see, Colombia and Argentina and like all those other countries. I think that would be so cool. But
I know one thing we found out does Natalie like ceviche?
Loves it.
Yeah, just super into ceviche, and I now know that there's Colombian ceviche and Peruvian ceviche.
Really, I didn't know that.
Peruvian is the one we're used to having here. I think it's the one that's better. It's more like citrusy.
Yes,
and the Colombian is a little heavier and could be a full meal, and it's more in like a cocktail sauce. So now we know. Now, if anybody asks you whether you want Peruvian or Colombian ceviche, Peruvian is the better ceviche.
I did not know that. That's good to know. But I do love me some ceviche. I'll have to try the Colombian one.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Will, what about you?
Natalie and I were down in Miami for a wedding with one of her family friends. Small event, like pretty close knit with the family that they invited, but it was a ton of fun. I'd actually never been to Miami.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Miami's a cool city.
I was surprised. I don't know why. I guess I just assumed like I wasn't going to like the vibe, and I don't know. I'm not a really beachy person, and I don't like being right in the city. But we went to this cool park that was like on the water, and man, I'll tell you one thing I was blown away by was how much money is just like on display.
Yeah,
I was shocked driving across the water and like looking over, and there's just these mansions with yachts parked outside. I was just like, what the heck do these people do?
Yeah, I wonder that too.
I mean, drugs. I don't know, but whatever it is, they're clearly doing it well because
they're good at it.
I don't know how you have that much money to spend on stuff like that.
It's a sought after place. I mean, even look at professional sports. People want to go down and play in Miami. It's a very sought after.
There's no state sales tax either.
I knew that.
So you're saving 6%.
I thought it was an income tax.
Oh yeah, sorry, income tax. That's what I meant. Yeah, there's no state income tax. So I think, David, don't you have an aunt that lives in Georgia but works in Florida or something along those lines?
Jacksonville,
yeah.
Yeah, she's a pharmacist, but she has her license in both states.
Okay.
So she works for Publix, so sometimes they ask her to fill into like the South Georgia Publix. I don't know what it is, like an hour and 10 drive or something.
But working in Florida would be kind of a sweet spot, right? Because then that's
that's her
more money.
That's her home base, but she's in a supervisor like type role. So that's why she has both licenses and goes back and forth.
Yeah,
That's really cool. So I mean, it sounds like all in all good weekends. Tyler, did you have anything wild and crazy that you did this past weekend that you wanted to throw out there?
I did not visit a place of Latino or Hispanic descent, unfortunately. My fiance is as white and as American as they come, so shout out to Melissa. Same with David. I guess we're holding it down as far as...
No, I actually had a Latino weekend as well.
Oh, okay, all right.
Where'd you
I'm just going to see myself out.
Get on board, Tyler.
I went to Fogo de Chao.
Nice.
There you go.
Brazilian,
Nice.
but okay.
There you go. It's very exotic.
Okay. I'm even trying to think of what I ate.
That's Latino, right?
Tyler's really stretching
I'm
now.
trying to come up with something here.
I think I had a taco. That was Mo's.
No, I'll tell you what. I
have
went
a
to the
margarita?
land where all kids... I did not have a margarita, unfortunately. I went to the land that all kids love. We went to Six Flags on a Friday night.
Really?
Yeah, a couple of us here in Atlanta, one of our good buddies and longtime listener, Coop, he Auburn fan as well, Auburn alum, got us the hook up with some free tickets to Six Flags. Hadn't been in
Dude, I haven't
better
been
half of a decade.
forever.
It was really fun. Also, this is how I know I'm getting old. It was tough. So we rode Batman once. We all got off. I didn't want to say it, but I had super bad tunnel vision, like about the blackout. I get off, but didn't say anything. And I think one of the guys with us was like, "So did anyone else almost black out on that flight?" And we were all in agreement, like, "Yes, oh my god, I'm so glad you said something."
funny.
It was rough on the old body doing it all, but we probably rode 13 or 14 different.
nice.
We hit it hard. So it was fun.
I would
It was,
love to go back.
If you ever want to go,
Yeah.
I'm a season ticket holder.
Are you really?
Season pass, yeah.
I would love to go back. I'm not a huge roller coaster person just because I feel like I get headaches if I
Yeah.
ride too many back to back.
we all have
But they
that.
are so fun.
Yeah.
And I love it. I would definitely be down to go.
Yeah, it was funny. We were all joking. We almost felt hungover or drunk
Yeah.
leaving there because like we all had headaches. We were
Yeah.
all kind of the pressure on your body. I don't know, but it was like I guess because it's
So worth it.
It is so intense.
was awesome.
Well, it's so intense. You're not used to that, So it's now that I'm more acclimated and back into the swing of things, back in season. I wouldn't mind
Yeah.
going back
First
to
time
give
back's
it
the
another.
hardest.
Give it another draw, but that was fun Friday night. But then turned that Friday night into early Saturday morning. Headed up to Athens with longtime listener Cole Erickson again. Got to hang out with the Ericksons. They would graciously have me at their house. Very nice house.
Shout out to the Ericksons.
And 5
Yeah.
points, yes. Shout out to Miss Erickson.
Cole is also my Six Flags season pass buddy.
There you go. So
He
all
and I went
around
to Whitewater together. It was like $10 more to just buy a season pass. So
deals all around. So
Sorry,
yeah.
get you.
shout out to Miss
Be silly
Erickson
not to.
for watching, for listening, or maybe watching. But every episode, I really do appreciate that. So that was awesome to hear some committed fans and get to talk with them. And then we all went and attended the game. We got to actually watch Georgia Murray State. Super hot game. We'll get into that in a minute. But that was it. Then came back Sunday, took it easy, grocery shopped like an adult. I had
nice.
to learn how to cook. Made some spaghetti.
You went to Amici, right?
Yeah, we went to
Oh,
Amici's.
Athens.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Oh man, let me tell you.
So
I think
Athens.
Amici is the official. Maybe Amici should be our sponsor.
Yeah.
Maybe they should. We
Yeah.
should. We should.
We'll
Amici
reach
is our
out and we'll get
number-
back to you guys next week.
Speaking of Amici, a nice little win here. Cole and I stayed till 0:00 on the clock. Left. It was hot. People left earlier in the game, so it was pretty empty. By the time we get downtown, we walk right in, put our names down for a party of two at Amici's. Like it's gonna be a 45-minute wait. Walk across the street to All Good. Order a beer. They text me, your table's ready. We didn't wait 2 minutes.
Wow.
So finish the beers, walk right back over. So I've never been to a Amici on a game days and got to
Yeah.
sit down within.
That's awesome.
5 minutes or so.
Yeah.
So
Oh man.
big win for the dogs and for Cole and I. So good weekend all around. I
Dude.
would say.
Yeah. That's
I think
awesome.
one of my forever memories of college will be being in Amici with Will. Being like, anybody want to split the Garchimar? Just like this buffalo chicken, garlic
Yeah.
bread that they had. Will was always trying to get people to split that.
Yeah, because it's like
Trying
one
to
of
get
the
it for the
greatest
table.
things on the face of the earth.
Well, also a little hint about Amici, and we can get off of it. They took off their jalapeno honey sauce
What?
that they have. It's
Well, they
it's
still-
off menu. If
Okay.
you guys ask for it, they still have it.
Good to know.
So
The
I didn't know
insider
that,
tips
but
there.
Cole being the Amici aficionado, he helped us out with
man.
sustaining the good flavor at Amici.
Amici's good stuff.
Yeah, you're gonna definitely have to check them out if you guys haven't been, but you're in Athens at any point in time. Be sure to stop by Amici.
Amici's. Sorry, I keep
Amici's.
saying Amici.
Tell them that we sent you for 10% off your check.
Tell them Tyler sent you.
Maybe. We'll see if that works. They're
Yeah,
nice. They're nice people.
let me know how that goes.
Yeah.
But all right, let's
Use
They
promo
might-
code.
they might
use
throw you
promo
out.
code Pylon
yeah,
for
seriously.
10% off your Amici check.
Yeah.
They might tell you to leave, but tell them we sent you.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go ahead and get into the game. Now, I got to be honest. I really didn't have a chance to watch any of the games this past weekend. As I mentioned, being down with Natalie and her family in Florida, and we had the wedding. There just wasn't the opportunity to sit down and really watch any of them. Jim, I don't know if you had a chance to catch any of it.
I
know-
got. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I know. I think you said you got the feed. I don't know if we were talking about that before the show or on the show, but you got the feed in the bar in Columbia, I think.
Yeah, so I got to watch Vanderbilt. On the way back, was when we were playing Murray State. I was a little frustrated with Delta. I purchased their streaming service was not working, which is a very first world problem. Never could have dreamed of watching live TV on a plane.
His beer was a little warm, too.
4 years ago. And no, the 420 was cold.
Oh,
it was very good. Yeah. But I bought the internet to try and stream it, and the streaming wasn't working, so I was just watching the game cast, basically. I was just watching it load. But anytime there's a big play, for some reason it would let me watch the highlights as like a YouTube video, but it wouldn't let me watch the live stream.
Neat,
so
though.
Yeah, so it was good. It was kind of a fun way to watch it, of just staring at it and letting it update one at a time. Then I was watching Texas A&M Clemson the same way. And then I got to watch a good bit of LSU Texas once we were actually
arguably the best
back
game
on the ground. Yeah,
that was the best game of the weekend.
That was a very good game, but it was fun seeing those kind of, after that first quarter quasi scare of all of a sudden it was 7-7, and I was like, what in the world just happened? Because all I see is 60-yard touchdown. It was fun to see those big plays lighten up my little screen on my phone.
Yeah, that was the one frustrating piece. Like you said, kind of a slow start in the first quarter, unfortunately. I think it's kind of typical of what teams worry about when you play that FCS opponent, that smaller opponent, right? You come off at least a conference win in Vanderbilt on the road, opening weekend. Slow start. Second quarter, you can see the box score, huge uptick in production there, 35 points.
And I mean,
second quarter, and then after that, it was really just everyone who had a jersey on got to play.
I did.
So all the action kind of happened
I read
in that second quarter.
I think you actually can play more than 85 when it's an FCS opponent. So I think we dressed like 92, and all 92 logged a single play.
I knew they said everyone that dressed played. I didn't realize the number could change at home. I thought it was just a travel roster and how many scholarships.
It's when you're playing an SEC opponent, I think you can dress unlimited amount, but you have to submit an 80-man roster.
Okay.
So that was why, like Jack Lunam, when he used to he would know going into the game whether or not there was a chance of him actually playing.
Interesting.
Because I remember he's our friend that was a walk-on and tight end on the team, and I remember hanging out with him, and it would get into kind of the wee hours of the morning, Saturday morning before a game, and be like, Jack, aren't you dressing out tomorrow? And he's like, yeah, but if I play, we forfeit. So I basically just have the best seat in the house and get to wear a helmet.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so that
free
was
water too. That's nice.
Yeah, but when you're playing an FCS team, I believe there's no limit to how many can dress or play.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, everyone got to play. I mean, I think we can run through this game really pretty quickly and get on to Notre Dame and everything else in the sports world. But got to watch all four quarters. Obviously, I was there in person. Pretty hot, really warm day. I guess unfortunately these early games are so damn hot. I mean, they were last year too. I think it was Austin Peay. That Austin Peay game was scorching. So outside of that, really fun experience. So
6 sacks, 11 tackles.
6
for
sacks
losses.
is huge. The Havoc was there. Even got a late pick. It was it was a gift. But Latavius Brini from the Grave got a little gift there. Yeah,
that's a name I haven't thought about in a couple of years.
It was wild. I mean, literally everyone got into play. I mean, there were kids going up there. I was like, who was number 000? I didn't know who we had made that jersey. It was kidding, but it was just kids we had no idea who were on the field. But I mean, obviously, I guess just quickly shift to the freshmen. I mean, we saw what Fromm could do. He did what he had to do. Swift looked as you would expect. Same with Harrion. Same with Cook. We balanced play calling again. A lot of stuff on the outside to set up the run at the middle. They really had no answer for us. We kind of stalled early. We did allow that one sack on Fromm. Only thing of note with the starters, I would say, was Jamari Sawyer did start at right tackle, which I thought we thought Cade Mays would start at right tackle in place of Isaiah Wilson, who has a high ankle sprain, and then Ben Cleveland would be right guard,
which was the majority of the lineup.
It ended up switching back to we ended up playing the majority of the game starters wise, which you would consider the starters being everything as usual on the left, Trey Hill center. Ben Cleveland at right guard and Cade Mays at right tackle. I think that was our most productive. Once we had those guys in, we seemed to move the ball a lot more efficiently. So
I love Cade Mays.
He's incredible. I think he's the one guy we really can't afford to lose. I want to say Andrew Thomas, but just like last year when Andrew Thomas went down for South Carolina, we plugged Cade Mays in, and there was almost no drop off.
I just love how it's
incredible.
Whether it's the left side, right side guard tackle, he just refuses to not be on the field.
Yeah, which you would kill to have that kind of guy. And what a recruiting pitch from Sam Pittman to say, look, you need to have the talent. That's God-given to have that. That's not everybody. But he'll put you. He'll let you play as long as you have it and you have to drive. You're going to play, and he'll find a place. You're not stuck. You're not siloed into one position on the offensive line. So that's encouraging. But really, all in all, that was the most exciting part for the for the starters. We'll just go into the younger guys we got to see, because this is one of those games where, with the new redshirt rule, you're going to get to see some of these freshmen and sophomores they're going to play in 4 games. You're going to see them this past weekend versus Murray State. You'll see them this week versus Arkansas State, so long as we win big. And then you probably won't see them again till the very end of the season, because they're going to preserve that red shirt just because of the new rule of playing 4 games without penalty and reserving that freshman year. So, anyway, just rolling into it real quick, George Pickens looked amazing. I think everyone kind of saw his catch. He did that diving catch. He scored his first touchdown. He looked great. I mean, and then in typical Kirby fashion, he asked after the game, what'd you think of George? Amazing catch, great diving catch. And he said, well, I don't really care what the catch is. I thought he did a really good job blocking today.
Yeah.
That was vintage Kirby.
But you almost start waiting for him to wink at the camera, but he's actually serious.
Doesn't care, yeah. But he knows. He knows. I mean, I'll just round it out like this. George Pickens is a special player. He is going to be super special. I mean, I was talking with Cole about this. I think, and this is just me being new age, and maybe it's offensive to even say, he can definitely be better than A.J. Green. Just because of his body style, how big he is, how much more he can put on his frame than A.J. Green. Then I just love his passion. I think the way the kid plays, you saw him get up off the field. He got shoved out of bounds. He throws a ball in the kid's face mask and got a 15-yard penalty after he made a bomb catch, and then goes back out there and scores a touchdown 2 plays later. I mean, he's confident. He knows that he's a big-bodied kid. He's a freshman, for God's sakes. I mean, he looks apart, and he's super physical on the blocks. Kirby was referencing that block when Swift had that 40-yard run. He just knocks the kid's head off when the safety comes down into the box. I mean, the kid just does everything right. It's like Kirby's having to just curtail our expectation and keep him having something to work on. You can't just praise the kid and let him think he's arrived. So. And he was the most,
I agree with
he
that.
was the biggest takeaway as far as who everyone knows, and as far as becoming, I'll call it a household name, at least for Dog Nation. Super fun to see him click.
Yeah, and he's probably still sort of just scratching the surface in terms of his route tree and what they trust him, to know to do on a given play or anything like that. So it's going to be fun to see him continue to get on the same page as Fromm and grow and be given a little more responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, really, just for me, I guess on the whole, I mean, just seeing this team. Granted, it's Murray State, I know, but we're getting everything. We're seeing George Pickens with these big catches, these great plays, just lay it out, great blocks. You're seeing even these guys like Eli Wolf, who really wasn't all that productive at Tennessee. You can say, was it him, or was it? He's already surpassed his career total yards at Tennessee in the 2 games at Georgia.
I think he had 82 in 4 years at Tennessee, and he had 78 this past weekend.
It's incredible.
I mean, and that's such a thing. Just what a ridiculous, I guess, eye for talent the coaching staff has. I mean, how are you that? Because even some beat writers and stuff that I feel like know their stuff and that I trust their evaluation of players. When we sign Eli Wolf, we're like, oh, that's kind of a head scratcher. I don't know how good I feel about that, but. I thought
it's working out. I thought it was just for depth.
Yeah,
but it feels
like
going
to get in there and block. But him and Fromm seem to be really vibing.
Yeah, they really do. And I think it's what the defense is giving. I think he's an unknown. He's like, well, we don't really know this guy. He's brought in for depth. He's a big body for tight, and he's left open. And a lot of the guys, same thing. Listening to a lot of the beat writers, reading their stuff and other podcasts and such. Same thing. They say, I guess people they're leaving that open because it's not on their radar, and if they're going to give that to us, Fromm's the kind of quarterback where he's going to take that. He's not going to always make the sexy throw downfield, force it through double coverage, and make the awesome highlight reel play. He's going to take that and give the kid a quiet 7 receptions on the day or whatever it was.
I think Kirby's big on that, and then Fromm is the perfect quarterback to run that type of offense where it's truly the coverage dictates where the ball goes. Mm-hmm. So Fromm, unless he sees some sort of coverage he really likes, he very rarely, in my opinion, from what I've read and stuff, takes a snap where he's like, I'm going, to player X or player Y or player Z on this. It's, he takes what the defense gives him, and if that's going to be Eli Wolf 9 times a game, as long as we're winning,
biggest
whatever.
Eli Wolf fan. Yeah, I heard a little nickname for him, the Wolf of Broad Street.
I like that.
I hope that sticks.
That was pretty clever.
That's really clever, especially if he, becomes a cog in the wheel for sure, which he seems to be. Again, all this is against Murray State, but super fun just to see our team. The backfield clicking, everyone getting their shares. Zeus looked great. It looked incredible. Got his first touchdown. The crowd just sort of loves him. They reacted very, very positive. It was really fun to hear the Zeus's raining down. Everyone hears like boos, but it's just fun to hear that kind of rain down on the kid. And everyone's just super excited to see him play, coming back from 2 ACL tears, 1 in each knee. Trying to think of some others that really impressed. Trayvon Walker and Nolan Smith, buddy. I mean, there were some packages. We would have Trayvon Walker, Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean, Adam Anderson. And we had three of those are freshmen, true freshmen, but then just the speed that those guys get after the quarterback is incredible, which we can get to here in Notre Dame in a minute. That kind of stuff is going to be crucial, just watching Notre Dame Louisville game. But just seeing, anyway, I was just saying all this because seeing the backfield perform like it did, seeing these wide receivers like Eli Wolf, seeing George Pickens, seeing Demetrius Robertson get another touchdown, seeing Dominic Blaylock get his first touchdown. It was a little screen play. It was all yards after catch. He made the play. He got some good blocks, burned the safety, and just tore it up for a touchdown. I mean, everyone was getting on the action. Everyone's getting the ball in their hands because last year we didn't feel like we had that. Didn't feel like we really built that rapport, and I know we kind of complained about that last week a little bit. Is we wish we would have seen us air it out and spread the ball around a little more just to get people comfortable, because we have players like Demetrius Robertson last year who didn't get, and that was well documented, not a single catch.
Yeah.
But now it feels like no one's going to go without. It feels like everyone who plays, Landers is making some catches. Everyone's touching the ball.
Yeah, it is goofy because we lost 90% of our receiving production from last year. But last year it seemed like we had our starters and then a pretty steep drop off. Even if it wasn't talent wise, it was experience wise. It was like a lot of freshmen or first year guys. Mm-hmm. And this year it just seems like there's just a lot more depth. It's where last year we had 3, and then it was like, oh, if any of these guys get hurt, like, hopefully this freshman is ready, or hopefully this junior that's never really played turns a corner. Now it seems like we're 6 or 7 deep at wide receiver of guys that you really do trust. That's like you never hope for anybody to get hurt, but if it's a hot game and somebody needs to come out for a minute or anything like that, guys that you trust when you're going, to your third string guy in the slot, and it's Dominic Blaylock.
Right. Yeah. With Kyrus Jackson being injured, he was injured, so that kind of gave way to Dominic Blaylock. But he'll be back. But yeah. I mean, it's just anyway. I just say all of that again because we're seeing some reliable receivers, some big hitter receivers. We have our quarterback. Our running backs looking great. Offensive line, obviously, we were just touched on Cade Mays playing anywhere and everywhere. Jamari Sawyer being in there. Because offensively, at least, that's a very heavy offensive look. But it's just. And again, I know the competition we're playing isn't Notre Dame yet. It's not A&M yet. It's not Auburn yet. But you need to see this. I think we're moving in the right direction. Yeah. You're getting that confidence. You're getting what it should look like, So that's just super encouraging. And I guess just to round that out on the defense, like I said, Trayvon Walker, Nolan Smith looked great. Everyone got it. I didn't really notice anyone else. Again, the only one interception was Latavius Brini randomly. Mark Webb did drop one. Went right through his hand. So that would have been another that they ended up getting a field goal off of. But yeah, the Havoc plays came in. I mean, that's Jimmy's prediction of over 35 definitely helped this week because we had 6 sacks. So that's 7 sacks in the year so far. So that's
on pace. We'll I mean, you can't expect 6 sacks every single week but we've got a few cupcakes left. We got.
They count. Everyone else's stats count.
Exactly.
For sure.
For sure. Talk about Tua had 8 zillion yards passing last year, but he'd have like 700 against Tulane or something.
Well, and then they were all in the first quarter too because they wouldn't play half the time because they were playing cupcakes. I mean,
that's the nice thing about like team stats and Havoc stats and stuff like that is if we're playing, the third and fourth string guys or the walk-ons, if he gets a sack's a sack.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So really, there's not too much to take away from a game that big, I would say, so we can probably move on. I was just really looking at accolades for individual players that we wanted to see, that we either may not see much of later on, or guys you really wanted to see grow into their positions before we get into the meat of this conference. So
the only other thing, I think you can make an argument, not that it was a good thing, but that busted coverage on the 60-yard play.
Yeah.
Something to learn from. I mean, that would have hurt a lot more because Richard LeCount from what I've watched, he kind of crashed up on it, and Mark Webb let that guy get behind. It was Mark Webb, right?
Yep.
Let that guy get behind him, and I heard somebody else phrase it a good way. They're like, you may feel like because this is Murray State, it's not obviously it's an inferior opponent, but when you're playing any level of college football, if you give a guy 5-yard head start in the open field, you're not going to catch him in 40 yards.
Sure. Yeah.
It doesn't.
That's a good point.
I mean,
well, it was funny because their very next offensive possession, they went right back to it, and it was against Tyson Campbell, and he maybe he wasn't getting coached up into that. I would think the whole secondary was kind of getting an earful after that coming to the sideline, but they went right back to that the very next play, and they picked up a first down on 1st and 10. So you could tell they were like, we're going to do this until you stop it. Now they couldn't sustain it, but to your point, I agree. I mean, we can talk about FCS opponent and inferior people, but
And that kid was a Florida transfer.
Athletes.
So,
I didn't realize.
Yeah, whether or not it's, it's obviously not worked out perfect for him because he's at Murray State now, but at one point coming out of high school, he was fast enough to earn a scholarship offer from University of Florida.
I mean, if you're a college wide receiver,
yeah,
like
I'm pretty, like Jacoby Dean could probably run me down if I had a 5-yard head start. But like when you're, so that's not. But like, in terms of like scholarship guys at almost any level of college football, if you give a guy a full head of steam when he gets the ball and then it's just a straight shot to the end zone, it's going to be hard to catch him. Yeah. So it's a learning experience from those guys that they've got to be more on the same page that, Webb's got to cheat more inside knowing that he doesn't have the safety help, or LeCount needs to be more sure that it's a run before he bites on the play action.
Right. And hell, I'm all for it. I'm all for those teams even getting 21 on you or something for you to just light into the defense and make it never happen again. Like, I know this is lesser competition and it's going to get harder to restrict this. You don't want to see it become a problem, but you definitely want something where you can get after the defense more and say, nothing. We don't want any points. We don't want aside from that big play and the interception when Stetson Bennett went in.
Yeah,
it's a touchdownless game. A 60-yard busted coverage, and second string quarterback pick six deep into your own territory. Remember, still pretty good.
This is kind of an aside, but remember in 2017, the last play of the Mississippi State game, Monty Rice sticking their running back to keep him out of the end zone. I think that's kind of that attitude you want out of your it was 31-3. The game was totally out of hand. Rice was a freshman that was barely playing anything except special teams, but I mean, he tackled that guy and the sideline went crazy like we had just won the national championship or something, which I think is a fun touchdown. Yeah, it's a fun mentality to have as a team. Yeah. So I agree. It's definitely a learning experience and hopefully something that pays. Yeah. Pays dividends. So in terms of communication, tackling, for sure, scheme, whatever it is.
Yeah, every team can be a better tackling team for sure. So that's just, Kirby loves that stuff. So
anything else from, I guess before we get into Notre Dame, you got any thoughts on Clemson, A&M, or?
Do you want to go into them?
We can just gloss over them real quick.
Clemson, A&M, I didn't get to watch much of that, unfortunately. I thought it could go either way. It could be close. It could be a blowout, or it could be close like last year. Yeah. Unfortunately, it was
Clemson. I don't think Clemson's offense is as good as you would expect it to be with all the hype. Like Etienne is pretty much a first-team All-American preseason running back, and then Trevor Lawrence is like the best college quarterback since ever.
Yep. And Justin Ross.
To hear some. Yeah, and they got Justin Ross at wide receiver, and they're not like setting the world on fire or anything. Yeah, well, I don't know that much about A&M's defense, but
I don't either. I mean, I think they have to get warmed up. I think just like anyone else, they're kind of getting to their own stride. They're playing some quality teams there. So we'll see. I mean, I think it is. Some of the commentators are kind of touching on that, how they thought Trevor Lawrence he's obviously more confident. He's obviously more comfortable. So now he feels like he can do a little bit more. Yeah. When you don't necessarily have to. Yeah. Which is kind of what we're always struggling with Fromm. Well, of course, we think Fromm can do more. He just definitely lives in that world of I don't have to. Yeah. I'm not saying Trevor doesn't. I think the kid's so supremely talented and they're so loaded. They're trying to find that balance right now, and they're still getting warmed up, I think. So I agree they're not as impressive. I don't think their defense is as good. I think their offense definitely can be. It's very uneducated, so maybe Eric could tear us apart here as a diehard Clemson
Eric
fan.
Eric would come in here and tell us how we're wrong.
He probably would.
The best college football team since 2000 Miami.
We're pretty educated football fans, and I think just watching some of that stuff, the general public will tell you, it's definitely not humming like it was. They're not striking fear in anybody just yet. So I think they can get there for sure, and it'll be a fun matchup. But I like to see them play our defensive front.
I do feel better about playing A&M now, being that they're the team from that game that's actually on our schedule, because I didn't realize this till I was reading stuff after, but if you go back and look at his career stats, Mond really has not played that well on the road. So I think that's great that we have them in Sanford Stadium. I think that'll be good. I mean, it's 10 weeks away. You can grow a lot as a sophomore quarterback, and especially when Jimbo Fisher is your coach. So who knows if we'll see the same guy, but I feel better about the fact that that's a home game, that we've got them.
Who do they have? Is it Texas State week 1? Did they blast Texas State?
Probably. I don't know. But I'm sure they had a cupcake, being that they played Clemson in week 2.
Yeah. That's a tough schedule. I mean, if you think about it, Texas A&M has to play number 1, Clemson, number 2, Alabama, number 3, Georgia, number 4, LSU, and currently number 8, Auburn.
Dang.
That's Texas A&M's schedule.
Yeah, I think the only one that is
brutal.
Is,
they play the
is
top 4
comparable
teams
to that.
in the country.
Yeah.
There is no harder schedule.
No, yeah. The only one that's even comparable, and it was only comparable before everyone knew how good LSU was going to be, is South Carolina also plays number 1, 2, 3. And I think 2 of theirs are on the road, whereas A&M, 2 of them are at home. Well, no, A&M, 2 of them are on the road too.
Because they went to.
So maybe South Carolina's on the road
Clemson,
for all 3.
Yeah,
and they're coming to us. But I think they host Alabama.
Yeah.
So, and then by I think Auburn's probably a better team than Florida, but I guess we'll find out in a couple weeks. But South Carolina, going by rankings, has Florida, who is technically a top 10 team.
That's
fake news for sure. But if you're just looking at strength of schedule, and stuff
we'll take
like
it for now. I think the other guys definitely look more impressive. No one's fooled by Florida. I think again to the debate, we can have this another way later argument into an off-season episode. But rankings can be beneficial, obviously. If you start high, it helps you. If you lose, when you lose, you can still kind of be in the conversation. If you're ranked low, it's detrimental to you. All that being said, no one knows who the hell is who. Yeah. For those first 4 or 5 weeks.
Exactly.
Florida is a prime example.
I like a lot that the college football playoff rankings don't come out until after Georgia, Florida, usually.
Yeah, like 8 or 9.
Yeah, right after whatever the Halloween games are.
But
that LSU looks scary.
Man, that shit. I'm telling you, I thought last year could be a fluke, and not even a fluke. I shouldn't say that. I guess they were so streaky last year. It's like they were efficient. They weren't flashy. I forget who they dropped to. They lost to like Mississippi State. I'm probably quoting. They lost to someone they shouldn't have. I thought, and then they smash us around.
Yeah.
I think they ended up beating Auburn. I guess they didn't. And then Joe Burrow, when he transferred in, I forget where he even transferred
Ohio
from.
State.
Was it Ohio State?
He got beat out by Dwayne Haskins. I don't think him. I don't know if him and Tathan Martell were ever teammates or not.
Well, I can see why he wouldn't. Tate Martell definitely wouldn't have beaten Joe Burrow because Joe Burrow was on fire. I think that was the most. Is it the most passing yards for an LSU quarterback ever? And it was the most passing yards in Texas ever. In the Longhorn Stadium, at least.
Yeah,
for either Texas quarterback or visiting quarterback.
I don't feel like that game was even. It was more of a 14-point game than a 7-point game. Texas' last touchdown was kind of like, I don't want to call it garbage time because it was still a game, but they were in the hurry up, and I don't think it truly.
Well, you'll bend, not break.
Yeah, I will say that Texas kicked a beautiful onside kick. I don't know if you guys saw that. The receiver that tried to catch it couldn't hold on to it. And ended up going out of bounds, but it took a bounce at about 9 yards and went straight forward through the two guys trying. There's no way you could even. It's luck, is what it is, because you're cooking a ball shaped like an egg, but. To his credit, whatever he did was great. It was one of the better onside kicks I've seen.
It was the way it kind of curved around the hands team, and the kid got his hands on it. Then with sliding out of bounds and juggling the ball, it gave him a fighting chance for sure. It was super exciting game. But I think the thing we can take away from that is Coach O has definitely committed to changing the culture and just the look of LSU. No one would ever in their wildest days, I don't think, ever commit LSU to being a pass-heavy offense.
Yeah.
And here they are throwing
which is crazy because
471 yards. You think about
receivers
Odell,
they've got in the NFL. Jarvis Landry.
Thank you. I'm sure there's some others that I can name that aren't coming to mind right now.
Other people.
I know they've had. I know what Jimmy's referring to. It's just. And again, Joe Burrow didn't have the greatest numbers at Ohio State. I think he was never really efficient when he had to fill in. He was streaky last year. Of course, he shut us up really quick. One of our worst games for sure. But then he looked incredible. He was dropping dimes, squeezing it through tight coverage. He's cocky too. He has a little streak that I can't stand when it's not your guy. But dude, he backs it up so well. And they look scary. I was worried they would jump us. Not that it really matters this early. Worrying about rankings this year is just. Rankings now mean as much as my first car. I read that on the internet. I thought it was pretty funny. It's just it doesn't mean they don't count. They don't
Which
mean
was
anything.
What Tyler shared
with us? A purple Dodge Caravan. It's the shaggin' wagon.
Nice.
Yeah, it's very nice. That's awesome.
That is what the AP is worth.
But it is. But so it wouldn't have mattered if they jumped us. But awesome. LSU certainly looks apart. Just who they're playing Texas on the road like that. Texas has that hype because of how they looked versus us, which is our own detriment for running our mouth.
Yeah.
After talking bad about Notre Dame, who went to the playoffs, ran our mouth before we played our own game in the Sugar Bowl, get embarrassed by Texas, had no answer for them. They come into the season with a lot of hype. And then LSU, who also smashed us around, goes in there and smashes
after we were
Texas.
talking crap to Notre Dame players.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It kind of added that juice, and then it just embarrassed us. So I think that really put Texas on a pedestal, and then LSU comes in and shuts it all up. So, it's funny how it all works, how it all unfolds.
Yeah, it is.
The marketing
tangled web
machine that works.
Here's another tangled web I thought was kind of neat, is that Herman, the head coach of Texas, was the offensive coordinator at Ohio State when Joe Burrow signed with Ohio State.
Wow.
So when
How
they
about that? I
yeah,
did not
so
know
when
that.
they shook hands at midfield after they were talking, and it's kind of neat. He played for him for a year or
Wow.
two, or however long till he transferred. But it is lucky for us that basically Alabama and LSU are both in the West, and one of them. They can't both go undefeated because they play each other.
Yeah.
They can't both win the West.
But what
and
worries
we don't
me-
have to play either of them. We have to play one of them more than likely.
What worries me is with Alabama's, that Dylan Moses is out for the season. They're starting middle linebacker, and then also I forget the other guy, but they had another starting linebacker go out. So
Alabama's
they're
thin at
not
linebacker,
quite as
which was our big detriment
right.
last year.
So they're kind of in the same situation. They're still supremely talented. Everyone knows it, but they're not as talented as they were last year. I think we can all agree. And LSU really trending. It'll all be settled, so it's all just speculation. But I can see a freaking scenario where LSU wins that game. Auburn's still in the mix over there. Not near as impressive, but Auburn's still always looming for both those teams. But LSU wins, knocks Alabama. It's us and LSU in Atlanta, and who's sitting there at number 5? I mean, you can just see. It's going to piss me off. I swear to God, if we have to beat somehow, just have a knockdown drag out with LSU in Atlanta come December, and then have to just tell me if you heard this story again. Play Alabama that very next week or 2 weeks later, and just have to. I mean, that's just how it goes in the SEC. That's why that's conference. Now the East, whole other story, but that's why that's why the SEC is such. That's brutal. That's going to be more than likely. That is going to be a scenario we're looking at.
I definitely think I said that. I can't remember if I said it on the podcast or in one of our group texts, but I think if you're a Georgia fan, you need to be rooting for Alabama to go 11-1, but still win the West. And my logic for that is if they go 12-0, they're going to go to the playoff, and it doesn't matter. And I don't want to play them twice. They're not going 10-2, and that's that. So, but if they go 11-1 and don't win the West, which is the exact scenario you just laid out, they could sneak in while essentially having a bye week, which they did in 2017.
We know how that ended. So.
Yeah, so hopefully that's not the case. But yeah, I could see a world where they're both 11-1 and one of them wins. One's 12-0, one's 11-1.
Yeah,
and then.
Well, also keep in mind LSU in this scenario, the national championship is in New Orleans this year. So similar to having in 2017 where we
Good point.
had the championship in Atlanta, they have that on their plate as well. So that ticket could become extremely expensive. So
I do like our chances better at a neutral side in the SEC championship against LSU than I mean we were at Death Valley last year. We got lucky it was a 3:30 game. Still got our butts kicked, even though it wasn't a night game, but.
I would love to go back to that stadium.
Yeah, because that's one thing. I think Georgia will always represent very, very well at the SEC championship.
Yeah,
because the majority of our fan base lives in that city. So
it was also hot as Mars at 3:30 during that.
It was extremely hot
at LSU.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't remember how hot
it was?
We were dying.
I don't remember.
We were up in the very, very nosebleeds. We were
that.
pretty dang far away from the field. It was very hot. We hydrated quite a bit before the game.
We definitely did.
We made it through. But yeah, it'll be exciting. I don't think that CBS would trade the Georgia Notre Dame game being their 8:00 game for the year for anything. But come Alabama LSU, there's a world where that's number 2 versus number 3 matchup where maybe CBS is like, oh shoot, like it'd be nice to have this as a night game. But having Notre Dame play on CBS is
that and the eyes
that never ever happens. So
yeah, I think I don't know if it'll draw more. It'll be comparable just because of who Notre Dame is, and more of the country is more interested in the SEC.
I think
it'll
Georgia
have a
Notre
way
Dame
bigger
will
following.
destroy Alabama. LSU.
But I agree. But I can just see a world where Notre Dame and we've seen the LSU Bama game play out year after year, kind of be overhyped or live up to the hype. When they've played twice, the game of the century and all that crap. But that game draws eyes for sure. So it would definitely be a. We'll see. All this will be settled, I know, but it's fun to speculate. Seeing what we can.
It's exciting to look ahead, but obviously, Georgia still has to get past Notre Dame here in a couple of weeks.
We're talking about the SEC championship.
So we're talking about the SEC championship and the national championship, and they still need to play Notre Dame, which I want to get into and talk about more. Now, we wanted to have Jonathan, my brother, on the podcast to discuss this. John, as some of you may know, has been on before, has discussed Notre Dame football, also follows the NFL pretty closely, so we've had him on to discuss some of those things. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to be with us tonight, but we do want to address this game, as I know some of us aren't going to be able to get together next week to really talk about it right before it. But I kind of want to start off and talk a little bit about what we saw from Notre Dame when they played Louisville. They opened on a weird, like that Monday night. I don't know it was a holiday, but it was still kind of a weird way for them to kick off their season. And they looked bad, like to start the game. They looked really bad, really, really shaky. It's kind of funny because when that game was all said and done and wrapped up and you compare Ian Book's numbers to Jake Fromm's numbers, they're almost exactly the same. I think I don't.
I think that's ignoring a lot of context.
Yeah, I think so. But it's okay. Go ahead.
Well,
we'll talk
numbers for numbers. They are almost the exact same. I mean, Jake Fromm went 15 to 23 for 156 yards and a touchdown. Book 14 to 23, 193 yards, 1 touchdown, plus 81 rushing yards.
So you're leaving out the 81 on the ground and a touchdown. But
right,
so that's huge.
Right. So what I'm getting to here is I think one of the biggest defining factors between them. I think Fromm, funny enough, actually has the better long ball arm between the two quarterbacks.
Chicks do dig the long ball.
And chicks dig the long ball.
That is well documented.
But you've also got Book's capability to run the ball. I mean, and he uses his legs much, much more frequently. I mean, not that Fromm really ever needs to, but I kind of want to get into this and break it down and looking at the two quarterbacks, maybe what we can see from these guys going forward, what we expect to see from Fromm maybe in their game plan. What do you guys think going into Notre Dame, what we can expect to see from the offense?
Well, from the offense, I think the biggest thing that we've got coming from what I know about Notre Dame, again, it's hard to take too much away from. You can look at last year, but then they lost a good bit, and then you've got that one small sample against Louisville, is that they do have pretty strong edge rushers. I don't think they have two guys. I don't know their names off the top of my head, but the defensive ends that you can't, that they don't have to pick a side, that they want their best guy to be on to try and match it up on our weakness or anything. They got two guys that'll get after the quarterback if given the chance. So I think that's Isaiah Wilson's health will probably play a big point. You hope he can come back for that. Those high ankle sprains are trickier. You hope that Cade Mays is up to the challenge if he's the guy that is out there at right tackle. But I think that could be the biggest thing that could be tough as far as their defense against ours. I think if Cade Mays has to play, he's a very, very good run blocker. So I think you see us probably run straight at those defensive ends because that's kind of the best way to negate a pass rush, because a lot of those times those guys, they're so quick and they're so fast that they're not quite big enough to hold up against just a straight somebody running right at them. Their game is built more around finesse. So if Cade Mays is the right tackle because Isaiah Wilson can't come in and he's struggling a little bit with their pass rush, I think you see us start running off tackle to the right side a pretty good bit, I would think would be our answer.
Yeah. Well, last week wasn't much of a contest, but I mean, neither was Vanderbilt either, but I still think people are probably worried about our ability to convert on third down since it was so terrible against Vanderbilt.
It was 8 of 10 this week.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It was
1 of 8 versus Vanderbilt.
Yeah, who are we playing?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's a good point too, David. I mean, I think we were 1 of 8 on third down, but a couple of our touchdowns were on second and short. So we did convert. People do overlook the second and short conversions we did make, or the short field conversions we did make. But I mean, when it matters is third down, and when you're 1 and 8, when it matters, that's glaring. So certainly something to look at. To Jimmy's point, I agree. I think when you see those guys on their defense, as far as how our offense is going to attack them, they're certainly known for their defensive line. They have been the past couple of years, as far as, or on both sides of the line, both sides of the trenches. But those guys are typically our pass rushers, come up the field very quick, typically don't contain a pocket, overshoot, overrun. We have the guys that can make you miss. Obviously, everyone's seen DeAndre Swift do it. James Cook is obviously very quick. Zeus is kind of coming into his own. We'll see. We obviously have options. We have weapons. We've seen, as we've opened up the year, we've kind of done a lot of side-to-side, dump-down passes. We will attack the edge and really make you hurt. And watching that Louisville game, which I think will definitely stick with us, a lot of between the tackle stuff worked against Notre Dame, mainly because they had a mobile quarterback and it was a lot of read option. Okay. But those guys would pursue upfield very quick or just pause and give pause to that contain for that quarterback, and it would just let stuff up the middle very easily. So a lot of that early success that Louisville had was definitely between the tackles and right up the gut of Notre Dame. And where Louisville got in trouble was when their quarterback particularly, all those fumbles that were occurring typically happened when he would try to spread the ball or roll out of the pocket because they couldn't maybe contain those guys. And he fumbled twice out there just trying to make something happen. Those guys were fast enough, athletic enough, and that's where they spilled the beans and Notre Dame was able to get favorable field position. So I think it's going to be a tough matchup. We're going to definitely have to somehow isolate that weird edge of the offensive line and then getting the ball out to the perimeter. And those guys are athletic enough to really disrupt that. And that's where Louisville, who has a much more athletic quarterback than what Jake Fromm is, struggled. They struggled to get it right outside of there without, losing the ball or doing it very effectively. Those guys were able to chase him down and force him into either bad throws or coughing it up. So really, I mean, which is fine with me. I think that plays into our strength. If you want to, I mean, that's what we're known for. If we want to be that kind of team, just run it up your gut and really make you earn it, really wear you down. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, like most teams, I think Georgia's is going to be, we're going to be deeper. Our offensive line is a hell of a lot bigger than any team we're going to see. I mean, we already outweigh the average NFL offensive linemen. I mean, we have bigger backs. I mean, I guess even if this game is closer than we expect offensively, I can see just wearing them. I mean, maybe it's aggravating, just like the game in South Bend last year or 2 years ago. We won 2019. Wasn't as impressive. I think we thought we would come in there and smash mouth and wear them out and run them over quicker than we thought we did, I guess. But I just see us really running away with it later in the game. So if they keep it close, I can see us taking over. And then that stuff up the middle opens it up for deep balls for, George Pickens, for Demetrius Robertson, who, again, all this stuff we've seen versus Vanderbilt and versus Murray State really helps Notre Dame have to respect those guys, because I've seen them catch the ball, whether it be underneath, and turn it up and burn the team for, a 60-yard gain. So up the gut is how I'm going.
Man, East Campus Village must be really pumping out some smoothies with that offensive line.
Seriously. I don't know how they keep those guys fed.
The peanut butter chocolate smoothies, to be specific, not the kale ones.
I think they said our average weight is 328 or something like that. It's insane.
It's the biggest offensive line we've had.
I don't know if it has to be, I would imagine.
2012 was pretty big. It was bigger than anyone in the NFL at the time.
The NFL has to be leaner anyway, and they're faster guys, I understand. It's kind of a weird stat to compare it against, but the average NFL line weighs 310.
They were talking about that on TV last game. They were asking Vince Dooley about it, and he was like, man, if I had guys like that size, he was like, my linemen were like, 200 pounds.
Yeah. It's a different era for sure. But I can just
even
see
the linemen we had like 7 years ago would be out there with like 285-pound.
We had those guys too. Cole Erickson will let you know real quick who Rick was recruiting.
Yeah, recruited by, I was going to say, by a former coach who we will not name.
Oh, sorry, Brent.
To not hurt Dr. Brent Johnson's feelings.
But I just see us running right at the teeth, making them stop it. And if you can, I think we're starting to see where Fromm can do it. We can throw that deep ball I guess I'm so trusting George Pickens so early now. I think you and I were talking about he might come on week 6 or 7. The kid, I think he's
dive and catch.
His catch radius. I mean, that kind of willingness to commit to the ball, to me, shows me it's not just all about. It has to be there. He will go and he'll make your overthrow. He'll make that bad throw, that throw behind him. He'll make up for it. That's how athletic he is, and that's huge for no matter who you're playing against, how good coverage is. He can make that difficult contested catch.
Yeah, I think it is going to come down to the effectiveness of the run game and getting that going early, because I do think that both of these quarterbacks rely on that to open up the play action options for them.
Yeah.
And I was able to do a little bit of research on this, and I kind of wanted to highlight it based on some of the numbers from what we saw from the opening week. So to illustrate how much, or how effective, I should say, they are on the play action. So from that first week, Book went 5 of 8 for 90 yards and had that touchdown to Tommy Tremble off the play action. Fromm then went 6 of 6 for 97 yards when he was using the play action plays. And then as for how that worked last year, Fromm actually ranked 10th nationally in the yards per attempt off of the play action. So over 10 yards with a 7-to-1 ratio of touchdowns to interceptions. Okay. Book was ranked 19th, and he was only a couple yards off the pace when it came to the completion percentage. So I think it's pretty clear that both of these quarterbacks are going to rely on that running game to get going early. I just don't think Notre Dame is going to be able to do that.
Yeah, if it comes down to, I mean, if you can call the game, whichever team ends up establishing the run game more aggressively wins, then Georgia should win.
I think Georgia is just going to absolutely dominate in the trenches. I mean, those guys are so big and physical.
Yeah.
I just think we play a much more physical game than Notre Dame does. Tyler alluded to it a little bit. I think that they rely on more of a finesse because they just can't compete with the size and purely, I think, the athleticism that Georgia and the rest of the SEC can bring on board. So I don't know if I can even see this game being all that close, if I'm honest.
I could see it being like Tyler said, to where because of the style of football we want to play, we're ahead by 3 or even tied or maybe even behind by 3 like midway through the second quarter, but then the final score, I would imagine that we cover.
Yeah.
Something along one of those where it's just kind of a slow burn, and then you look up in the fourth quarter and you're like, oh, we're ahead by 13 points.
Yeah, we won by 17.
Yeah.
Certainly.
So, one thing I think as far as neutralizing Book is with what the run threat is and stuff, I have been reading that we've been having Adam Anderson playing inside linebacker at practice recently, so I think we might try to put him in. Not as aggressive as like. You remember when we played Tech in 2017 and Roquan was playing like 6 yards deep, and like he basically didn't have any assignments except to just go sideline to sideline and do whatever he wanted. Yep. I don't think we would give Adam Anderson that much responsibility. I don't think Adam Anderson is Roquan Smith or anything close, but I think that, we are taking one of our most athletic guys, maybe a guy that's more similar to the skill set that Lorenzo Carter had in terms of is a linebacker, but can hold up in space, is a little more fluid and maybe have him spy book. So I don't know if that's something we're working towards.
I think that's exactly where they were going with that. Yeah, I mean, it's like Kirby refuses to admit that Adam Anderson's inside linebacker, and I don't think he is, but for 2 or 3 weeks now, the kid's going to be practicing at inside linebacker, and he's one of our fastest linebackers, and it's just lengthy and long, and Jimmy perfectly alluded to it, as well as having Davin Bellamy and Lorenzo Carter, which are the 2 heroes of that game late 2 years ago, who sacked Brandon Wimbush, and recovered and put that game on ice. So it's kind of funny. Maybe that's a little head game as far as the kind of athlete Brian Kelly is going to see again that we tried out there on defense. Switching to defense, though, I think those are great numbers you had there, Will. As far as Ian Book getting that going, I did notice first Louisville, which we're totally different teams. They'll have a different game plan. We will as well. And
they only won 2 games last year.
So they're bad. We're good.
So let's be realistic about who we're talking about.
So
here.
did North Carolina, and they beat South Carolina. So I think Morville must champ than that, and here we are. But that's neither here nor there. But I do think that Ian Book is certainly it can. I feel like we have struggled with this, just Georgia. Maybe not Curry, maybe not Mel Tucker or Glenn Schumann are now DC, but with that mobile quarterback. Most teams do, right? That's the kind of new landscape of college football. Ian Book, when that pocket collapsed, the kid took off and ran. That's why he got those chunk yards and kept plays alive and made things happen. And I am worried about, we have our speed, we have our Trayvon Walkers, our Nolan Smiths, even our Adam Andersons. We've shown a propensity to not play contain very well. Even Aziz Ojolari versus Vanderbilt got caught on the reverse, which is tough to be disciplined every single play. I know that, but we have definitely shown, go back to December. Look at Jalen Hurts. We knew what Jalen Hurts was. He's not a great passer, and what do we do every time? The kid rolls out and burns us every time it came in on this third down. So I'm a little worried about that. We always seem to have a hard time adjusting to that. I think Jimmy has a pretty good game plan there, and is in Kirby's ear about what we might do to approach.
Kirby and I text
to approach a slow down Ian Book. I'm not sure you don't center your whole game plan around his ability to be so mobile. He's not Johnny Manziel. He's not even Jalen Hurts as far as running the ball, but he can do it enough where he's going to keep those drives alive and make it aggravating, fatigue your defense, control the clock. Because the best thing they can do is to keep the ball out of our hands, to keep the ball out of DeAndre Swift's hand, and let us play the clock. So whoever can win that time of possession, which isn't always a sexy stat to look at, especially on the road in a loud environment, if they can slow that down and keep us in it and aggravate us, that's most certainly a way. So I am a little worried to see how we're going to do that. That's where I think the likes of Mikael Carter and Michael Bennett and Jordan Davis come in, of really holding that line and not shooting the gap. I think they could almost allow him to shoot the gap to remove him and then just let him cut up the field and go. Because we've seen that Glenn Schumann and Kirby really don't come after the quarterback all that much. The past years we haven't, because we haven't had good sack numbers. So I can see us really almost just staying in front of him and just making Ian Book beat us with his arm, which I'm not going to say he can beat us with his arm all night, but he's certainly capable of throwing the ball around. He's not an inapt passer, or whatever. So he's a little tricky to watch. Anytime you have a mobile quarterback, you leave yourself out there as a higher chance of having a turnover, just because you're running and you're getting hit a lot more. So and everyone, that ball's flailing and you got a bunch of defensive linemen swatting at it. But I am very intrigued. And then they have I think it's a tight end, Clay Copeland or something like that. I know I'm butchering that name, but he lit it up, number 83 for Notre Dame. He looked really good, big body. He could be a pretty big mismatch for our middle linebackers for sure. Because he had a couple of balls over the middle versus Louisville at least, and I was able to catch them, and not only catch them, but just turn it up and just outrun some of their linebackers. So I forget the kid's name. I know I'm butchering that, but look out for number 83 in Notre Dame. Anyway, those are some of the weapons they have that I think that make me a little nervous because we just haven't played that yet.
Yeah,
sure.
And I think if we can halfway neutralize Book, from what I've heard, is that their running backs, and this is coming from stuff that even Brian Kelly has said in press conferences, that he's like, we're not thrilled with our running back depth. We're not thrilled with what we're bringing to the table running back wise. So I think Book is low key might be like their best running threat. So if we can stop him, I don't think that their actual running back should give us too much trouble.
Yeah.
So I think he's kind of the wild card there.
Yeah, he was second leading rusher in that Louisville game, I think. And I will say, I think half of his yards came in that early run. He tucked it down and took it off for like 36, 37, and he ended with 81. So, the majority of it was picked up on one play. But that's the kind of stuff that puts you.
Yeah. One more guy you got to count for.
College football sometimes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It makes
Should
me
be
nervous.
exciting though. I'm getting excited. Ticket prices are coming down a little bit.
Yeah.
Cole and I have been watching them like hawks.
Saw them on
We're gonna try and
StubHub.
pounce this week.
I mean, it depends on where you're trying to sit, but I saw a couple of them on StubHub for like $250.
Yeah, I try to avoid.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll sit in the 600 section if I need to, but
Then there's an extra $75 of fees. So
Yeah.
Got to get yours.
But man, that 600 level is far away from the field.
Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah.
I will say for the environment of the game, I've heard a little insider information. Not really.
Those red lights.
Yeah, so I know some of y'all. I've seen them tease it in the highlight trailers and stuff. The stadium now has LED lights. I think we put them in a year or two ago. Which LED lights you can do a lot more with, like your effects and what you light up in the stadium.
what
Like,
do
you
you
can
put them in where?
maybe all the stadium lighting, all the backlighting for like signs, all the lights that light up the field and everything are all LED lights. So you can you guys remember playing like basketball in an old gym, and it would take like 30 minutes for them to warm
Yeah,
up.
like
and
on the baseball field when you were in middle school. You had
It
to
would-
turn on
it
the
would
lights
take
like an hour
forever.
before the game started.
So
We just use car headlights.
but they are
Played by fireworks.
I've seen it teased in some highlight videos though, but they'll have they'll have Sanford Stadium in red. It'll be all red. So they said they're going to do for the Krypton fanfare at the fourth quarter when you hold up the fours. They're going to do a red. They're going to make all the lights red, and I think they're going to kind of like the Braves do when they do the chop. Like they're going to kind of
just about-
dim it and light it, dim it.
Dude,
and light
I
it.
was about to say that. That's one of the more entertaining things I've seen in sports, especially from like a very casual viewership, like baseball. When they dim the lights and everybody's doing the
lights
chop
and
when they're changing pitchers, that's like a super intimidating thing. I can only imagine what it would be like in the atmosphere of that game.
Yeah.
With that many people. Like,
Yeah.
just
Well, I
going
think
crazy.
It's such a
At
fun
night-
tradition that Georgia. That's barely a tradition because it
Yeah.
started 2 years ago on Twitter. But it's
Versus
so
Notre
fun.
Dame.
Yeah. Was it?
It was light up. Well, we lit it up so well and represented ourselves so well in South Bend. I think when we
okay.
came home, they were like, "Oh, I kind of want to jump in on that." And everyone wanted a piece of the pie. So if you
Okay.
weren't Notre Dame in 2017, you're fake news. But
Not
just
OG.
kidding. Go Dogs. We love you all. But I think that'll be a super cool, like what Will said, intimidating as far as at night. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff versus Notre Dame hyped game. It's obviously been on the calendar and circled for a while, but seeing the whole stadium lit up in that like red's a violent, cool color.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
just.
Did they announce?
way cooler than green or gold.
Yeah, or
are they
blue,
gonna
colors are
orange.
lame.
Is it going to be a red out, or do they say anything like that?
No, I don't think we're
they
trying to do
announced
anything like
it
that. And I don't think don't even anyone mention those other color jerseys. I don't think Kirby gives a damn about what color jersey
That
we
to
wear.
me, that would be silly too. Wear anything but red jerseys,
Yeah.
silver breeches.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna have all the eyes of America on us. So we need to go out there
Yeah,
and
go
just
classic.
be
Look,
Georgia
Georgia.
and rush for 1,000,000 yards and
That's
win by
right.
30.
Did the Georgia thing.
I would love to see those other jerseys, though.
Have those.
I'd
at
like
some-
to see him
Not necessarily during the
eventually.
Notre Dame game,
Yeah.
but I would like to see them at some point. We need to get over that.
Well, we did
That
Kirby.
I think, and bring them back on a regular basis.
Well, this is what I love what Kirby did. It was his first year, and granted, it was not the best year. So that's when he was like, you know what? When we have nothing else to play for, we'll bring out the black jerseys.
Yeah.
He brought him out versus what ULM or ULL, whoever the hell it was.
Yeah, University of Louisiana something.
Some Sisters of the
Monroe.
Poor company. Yeah, it was just he was like, you know what? You want the black jerseys? Noon game, black jerseys. Here you go. Have at it. He didn't care, you know.
Yeah.
But and then in 2017, no one even mentioned the black jerseys. No one cared. They were just all wrapped up into it. And I think that's what he's trying to point out is. I don't care what we wear. I want to win games. I'm not obsessed or consumed with the marketing aspect of all this. You know,
Yeah.
he's already got the recruiting aspect down pat. You know,
That's true.
let's let coach play ball.
Yeah, it's just
So
fun
excited.
for the for the rest of us and the fans to see that when it comes out. But
Do we have some time to cover a few more things real quick? Oh, can we
No,
talk
I
about
think-
Tennessee real quick.
I think we're
No?
really coming towards the end of our hour here, unfortunately. But
Tennessee's 0-2.
we-
by the way.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on in Knoxville, man.
not much.
I mean, that I guess that's
Just that new T-shirt they got.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
Wait, what?
That's a
That's
nice
a good story.
behind
That's a
it.
good story.
Yeah,
We're going to
there's,
give him a shot.
there's lots of things to tease them about besides that.
A kid had a homemade T-shirt, I guess, where he stapled he wrote UT in his own handwriting on this shirt and just stapled it onto an orange T-shirt and he got made fun of at school for it.
So it was like school spirit days. Like he was like a elementary school.
Yeah,
kid.
kind of cruel stuff, but elementary school bullies. So Tennessee then just remade that design on an orange shirt and they're selling it now. I guess
That's
to
cool.
raise money for
They
him
sent him.
or
They
something.
sent him like a big care package and
Good,
stuff,
yeah.
and gave him a bunch of tennis.
So
Yeah,
he
it
was
was
loaded with
it was a
gear.
classy move by Tennessee,
Cool.
but it is goofy just because there's no universe where Georgia State should.
No,
I mean, you should just be able to go put talent against talent without even practicing and just sort of impose your will.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a goofy thing that's going on down there.
Yeah, I just wanted to
mean,
touch on
I-
them just because, it's just in our world of the SEC, such as SEC East, that's one of the more fun trips that we go to Knoxville. Being there on the river and just, it's a cool stadium and tradition. It's wild to me to see a program fall to this.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what attendance is going to look like. They play UT Chattanooga this weekend.
And Chattanooga's a better team than Georgia State. I'll tell you that. So
I did see a guy I've met him a few times, but he's one of Jess's friends. But he put a thing on Facebook that was a picture of them at the UT game, and it said, "Here's to 10-2." It's like that's optimistic.
there you go.
Wow.
I like that.
Always looking
Technically, they could.
Well, they can't.
Well, no, they can't. They can go 9-3 because they're not going to beat us. But
There you go. They can't.
Yeah.
They can't afford to fire Pruitt. I think I see a lot of that. They can't. I think if they were to let go of Pruitt now, no matter how bad it gets, that is a cursed job because it was already kind of a circus getting him in there with all the Mike Leach, the Greg Schiano, all that stuff. That's just that job would be untouchable if they let him go. I think they would truly fall from their heritage of being a blue blood if they ever were, but they would truly fall from that grace if ever getting
and they
back.
also, I mean, anybody hopefully that has a clue. Hopefully, if you're a Tennessee fan, sorry, we're going over producer Dave, but I mean, just their lines are young. I mean, a bunch of their D linemen are hurt. A bunch of their offensive linemen are freshmen. It's just really hard to win games in the SEC. Again, you should be beating Georgia State no matter what, but it's hard to win games in the SEC like that. So I think if they need to be a little bit patient with Pruitt and let these linemen become upperclassmen and see if they can make any sort of noise.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It'd be frustrating to all of our Tennessee listeners. Plenty of room on the Georgia bandwagon.
Yeah, you can come on.
Everybody looks good in red and black.
That's right.
It's true.
Come on down. We play Notre Dame in 10 days.
Yeah. Also, Antonio Brown, whatever you think about him, you can comment on our Facebook page. Because we can't talk about it on here because David's giving us producer Dave's giving us the devil eye. But
we'll talk about it in a couple weeks when we're
Oh my
back. But
God.
that's what a circus that's been.
Yeah.
Also, the Titans are winning the Super Bowl. We beat the Browns by 30 points.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Hopefully we can get to all of it. But, we appreciate everybody joining us. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. But from all of us here to everybody out there, we want to say thanks again and go Dogs.
Go Dogs.